Welcome back to another video. In this one, what I want to do is share with you the lucid dreaming experience that I've had. I also want to give you the most effective technique that I have found for being able to successfully lucid dream. And it's also the technique that I've given to many people, and it's the one technique people have had the best experience with. Now, before I get into this video, what I want to do is share with you what lucid dreaming actually is. Now, lucid dreaming is different from the idea of astral projection, and if you want to know a little more about astral projection, I have a video that I did 2 weeks ago on that. And lucid dreaming is when you're inside a dream and you become aware of the fact that you're dreaming. Now, a lot of times, some people will have a little bit more conscious control over what is happening in the dream, but the conscious control isn't necessary to have lucid dream. You'll find and see what I mean by this when I explain to you my story, but the idea is that you nonetheless become aware of the fact that you're dreaming. This was 4 years ago, maybe within 2 months after learning meditation, and it was maybe 2 weeks after my first astral projection experience. Now, with that being said, it was also within maybe a couple months of seeing the movie Inception. Now, the reason I'm telling you that is because, one, the movie Inception is kind of about lucid dreaming in a way, because it's a dream within a dream within a dream, and it's becoming lucid of that, and it's also about the subconscious and the conscious mind. So if you haven't seen that movie, I recommend that you watch it. And I watched that movie, and I found it fascinating, this whole dream within a dream within a dream idea. So what I decided to do was that I was going to intend to have a lucid dreaming experience. I was going to find some type of technique that I thought would help me the most. And then what I was going to do was to have a different layers to the dream. So what I did is I decided that I was going to use an object, and I'll explain that towards in a little bit, but I used an object to kind of get me into a frame of being very lucid of the fact in a meditation and very aware of my surroundings. And then what I did was I went into a dream, and I had the intention of seeing that object and knowing that the moment that I saw that object, it would completely snap me back into remembering that I'm having a dream. Now, when I went into this dream, it was a 3-layer dream. The first thing that happened is I went into a dream, and I was dreaming, and probably at first I wasn't aware of the fact that I was dreaming, but then I was walking around kind of like a house, and I was walking around, and I remember that I saw that object that I was explaining to you. Now, the moment that I saw that object, I looked at it, and then within maybe a couple seconds, I realized that I was having a dream. I started to look around, and everything felt a little bit different, and I knew that I was dreaming. So from that point on, I knew that I wanted, and I remembered that I had this intention of having a 3-layer type dream, like a tri-level type dream. So the first layer, I was in kind of like the house that I grew up in, and I would look around, and I saw some familiar objects. I remember that then what I did was I went into the backyard, and I remember looking around the backyard, and I had friends that were there, like 3 or 4 of my good friends that I used to hang out with all the time, and they were hanging out, and they were looking like kind of around a fire pit. There was a fire pit there, 2 or 3 of my friends there, and they were smoking hookah. That was something that I did 4 or 5 years ago. So I went over, and I was chilling with them, talking with them, smoking hookah, and I kind of knew it was a dream. I remember that we were talking, we were having a good time. I was kind of looking around, and then we were talking about life, kind of having like one of those deep conversations that you would have if you were like under the stars or something with friends or camping or something. And then what I did was I looked around, I went back, I was like kind of looking around my backyard, and then I went back into the house, and I saw the couch. And what I did is I went over to the couch and knew that I wanted to go to the next layer of my dream. So, kind of like the movie Inception, what I did was I laid down on the couch, and immediately it felt like then I woke up, and when I woke up in a different location. Now, this location was a little bit different because it was a house that I used to live in when I was it's probably like 8 years ago, and it was this house that was in this, I live in Las Vegas, it was like on the other side of town, and I was there, and it was a house I had a lot of good memories at, but nonetheless, it was a house that I also had some parties at. So it was, I looked around, and all of a sudden, there was a whole bunch of people there. There were people from high school, there were people that I knew in college, there were people all around, and it was like a party. There were people playing beer pong in the garage, there were people in the backyard chilling, there were people everywhere. And I remember walking around, and it was fun because it felt like an actual party. So I remember that I was having a good time, And nonetheless, I walked around and was talking to everybody, kind of mingling. You know, I think there were maybe a couple girls there that I was talking to or something like that. So nonetheless, I was very conscious and lucid of the kind of dream that I was having. But I wasn't necessarily like just swiping everything away, changing the location on cue, having the people I want just like show up out of nowhere. And then what I did was I looked around once again and saw a couch. And that kind of couch was kind of a symbol for me that there was going to be a transition. Now, this is where it got even better, because I went over to the couch, I fell asleep, and this time when I woke up in like an even better version of everything. I was in this like pool party, and it was like this huge mansion type style house, but it was on like a penthouse of like a building. And then overlooking at it, it had very Greek-like architecture with like columns, and it was very clean, and there was a whole bunch of like there were some friends there, but it was more like there were celebrities there. There was people, I know it's gonna sound random, but I think Stephen Colbert was there. There was like random people that I don't know how they even, you know, it was in my memory for them to show up. I mean, of course I know who they are, but nonetheless, it was like there was catered food on the side. You know, I didn't really eat anything. I don't know what would have happened if I did eat anything, but there was catered food on the side. There were people walking around. There was celebrities. There were people I wanted to know that I didn't know yet, and it was a very nice pool. So I remember I was in the pool. I was talking to people. I was having a good time. I was kind of jumping around, and that was the best part of the dream, because it was just like I felt like, and it was very luxurious. It's like every dream got a little more luxurious, got a little bit more fun. And then in that third level, it was just like a party but a more settled party. It wasn't as crazy as the second layer, but nonetheless, it was like fun, and at the same time, it was very luxurious. So I was there for a while, period of time. I'm not sure how long. Then what I decided to do was that I wanted to wake up. And almost immediately for me wanting to wake up, I had this feeling. And then I woke up in the second dream, so that second layer when it was like a party. And I looked around and I realized that I was at the party, and I looked around and I was on the couch. Then what I did is I just laid back down on the couch, and then I woke up in the first dream, which was kind of around that house that I grew up in, and looking around, and I was on the couch, and then I saw like kind of in the backyard, I could see the glimmer of the fire, I could see the people kind of talking, and like the door was open in the back, and people were having a good time, and I could hear it through the door. And then what happened was I was in the couch, and then I just, you know, then I wanted to wake up again, so I just laid back down, and then I woke up in the actual life, you know, physical reality, I guess you could say. Now, I found it interesting because when I had this desire to wake up, I didn't necessarily think that I had to wake up in each layer of the dream. I just wanted to wake up. But nonetheless, I woke up in each layer as I was getting closer to waking up. Now, to me, this is kind of, it could be my subconscious mind from seeing the movie Inception, or it could just, to me, I just thought it was really cool. So immediately when I woke up, I wrote down my dream, and from that point, what I did was I enjoyed the idea of lucid dreaming. With all that being said, that was my lucid dreaming experience. Now what I want to do is I want to share with you the most effective technique that I have found for being able to have a lucid dreaming experience. I've suggested this to many people, have a lot of people say they've had good results with it, and it's the one that ultimately worked for me. So what this involves is, first off, finding an object. Now, what you want to do is you want to find an object that is maybe about, you know, that can easily fit in your hand. And the idea is that you don't want it to be something that you have a very strong emotional attachment to. Now, the reason for this is you don't want to, when you see that object, for it to kind of make you feel different emotions. You want to have it to be more neutral. So something that when you look at, you can kind of trigger yourself for thinking a certain way, but not necessarily feeling so strongly in one direction or another. So maybe don't pick like a pendant that your grandma gave you or something like that. Instead, pick an object that's maybe kind of new to you, that you've never really gave much thought about, and use that as a tool for being able to get you to a certain place. So what you do is you find some object. The object that I used was this one right here. I just went and got it so I could show you guys. I've had this for years. This is just a rose quartz little triangle, like 3D pyramid thing. Now, this is what I use. What I would do is, and this is the process, what you do is you get into a meditative state. So this could simply mean that you sit cross-legged on the floor, you become aware of your thoughts, you breathe deeply, and then what you do is you look at the object, whatever object you're using. And what you do is you look at the object and you become very vividly aware of your surroundings. You become aware of what you're thinking. You become aware of what you're looking at that little object. What you do is you do that for about 5 or 10 minutes. And then what you do is you just have this simple intention that you know that when you go to bed at night, you are going to see that object at some level in your dream. And you know that if you see and when you see that object, you're going to then become very lucid to the fact that you're having a dream. You're going to become aware of the fact that you're having a dream. So you're using this as a tool to anchor you into knowing that you're having a dream. Now what you do is you sit there, you look at the object, you become aware of your thoughts, you become aware of your surroundings and the fact that you're looking at this, then you set the intention that you're going to see it in your dream tonight. You're going to remember that immediately when you see it, it's going to trigger you into the fact that you're having a lucid dream, that you are dreaming. And then what you do is you then go into your dream, and you do that for maybe 5 or 10 minutes every night, and the more consistently you do it, the easier it does. It only took me 1 or 2 times before I had my first experience with it. So consistency is powerful, but you might have an experience your first night doing it. Then what you do is as you're going to bed that night, you just know that you're going to remember your dreams in the morning. You know that in the dream itself, you're going to be lucid, and then you go into the experience. Now, a couple quick tips for this. Now, the first tip I want to give you guys is just to have a very playful attitude about it. There were times that I've tried to have experiences, and the more I try, the more I will myself to do it, the harder it becomes because I end up resisting it. So instead what you can do is have like a little childlike curiosity about it. Don't be attached to the outcome. Don't expect that it has to happen. Think to yourself, it would be cool if it did happen. I think it'll happen. And then go from that point of view rather than it needs to happen. If it doesn't happen, I'm not going to feel happy or good about it. If you go about it in that way, it becomes a lot easier for it to actually happen. So try that. Do it from that point of view and see how it works. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave comments if you do this and you have experiences with it. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say and if this technique works for you like it's worked for me and friends that I have. And then other than that, sweet dreams, and I'll see you guys on the next vid. All right. Peace. Much love.